Today we're going to use some awesome black walnut to make this cool little stand for a wireless credit card reader that I'm going to have at my booth at a local guitar show. I'm Jeff, you're watching Home Built Workshop. Well, I would imagine that most of you probably know that I make and sell handmade guitars. In a couple of months, I'm going to be at a guitar show up in Denver, Colorado with some of my handmade guitars and other wares available for sale. Well, since we are going to be out and about for this event, it's really important to be able to take mobile payments. Now, what I use for mobile payments is this cool little Bluetooth card reader. You can do the tap to pay, you can do the little chip scan thing, or you could punch in whatever you need to punch in. This works on an app through my phone and it works really good, but I kind of want to have a cool little holder maybe that this can sit in, and it will sit on my table at the guitar show or any number of other events that I might be at. Now, this sort of holder is absolutely not necessary. I could surely just hand the customer this thing and they can do their deal on there. No problem. But I just think it'd be a nice touch, a little decorative holder that we can have sitting kind of on display. Maybe we can put the logo on there or something like that. I've got this piece of black walnut here. I think I can get most of the parts out of this. I might need a little scrap of a different piece. I've drawn this thing up as to what I think I want it to look like in Fusion 360. It's got a little recessed piece that holds the card reader at an angle with a little angled riser and then just a simple base. Now, the main reason that I took the time to draw this thing up is because I want the little cradle to fit this thing really well. So I've modeled it up, taken precise measurements of this thing, and I'm going to use the CNC machine to cut out that portion. The riser and the base, I'll probably just cut by hand, but I want this part to fit really good so this kind of sits down in there. So I guess since we have our walnut here, let's start laying it out, make some cuts. Now, I know that I'm going to have to cut off a smaller portion where we'll be able to cut out the holder, and then the other larger piece that's left over, that's going to become the base. I've laid out where I need to make some cuts on the bandsaw. My base that's going to hold the keypad is a little bit larger than what I need, but I have to have room on the CNC for some hold down clamps. So I'll cut this off, then I'll trim a piece away here. I think this can become the riser. Then I need to resaw this chunk because it's thicker than I want it to be. Ideally, I would resaw this whole entire piece, but it's just too wide to fit on my little bandsaw. Is that an excuse to buy a new bandsaw? Let me know down in the comments. After a quick pass through the drum sander to remove the bandsaw marks, we're ready to chuck this up, load this up. We're ready to fire up the CNC. After securing the piece on the CNC with some hold downs, I'll install my 1/4-inch bit and probe the piece so that it knows where the edge of the material is. Then, from there, we just hit the start button and let this robot get to work. I do have the dust collection running on here, but I didn't lower it quite as far as I should have. That was mainly so you can kind of see what's going on. Normally I would have that a little bit lower, and the dust collection would be a bit better than this. Well, right off the CNC, here's what we have. I didn't even have to cut these tabs loose, it just popped loose. That worked out really well. We got a little bit of finish sanding to do to clean this up. Of course, get rid of these tabs here, but overall, that worked out great. And while the robot was hard at work doing his assigned task, I was able to take a few minutes and run this larger offcut through the drum sander to bring the thickness down. Plus, there was a knot on the back that I needed to get rid of. So now, we can cut this down to its final size. To make sure I have a nice square edge, I'm going to give this thing a couple of passes on my shooting board to clean up one side. That grain looks so cool. to remove the bandsaw marks, I'll use my shooting board as a support base and a sanding beam to make sure it's sanded nice and flat. Now we have our 3 basic pieces cut to size. Now it's time to do some cleanup. I need to get rid of these marks left from the tabs on this, and also I want to do some contouring, some sanding. I need to radius these corners, and I want to put a nice bevel on the front that we can attach a nameplate or something like that to, just to dress it up. Now with all of that fun sanding out of the way, it's time to focus our attention on how I want to brand this. The reason I put this little bevel in here was so that I could have the brand on here, Haley Guitars. Now originally I was going to laser engrave Haley Guitars right into this, but I had a different idea. I got to thinking about this and I thought it might be kind of fun if this was interchangeable. If I laser engrave Haley Guitars right in here, that brand is there pretty much for the duration. So I decided to cut out some little leather patches. That way I can have the Haley Guitars patch on there, and if I want to switch it out for something else, we just unscrew it and screw on the new one. Makes it a little more multi-purpose and customizable. Plus it's leather. I think it looks kind of cool. So let's see what we can do about assembling this thing. What's wrong with that? It's gonna work fine, right? Since this riser is angled, it's going to be a little bit tricky to clamp everything in place. As soon as I apply clamping pressure, the pieces are going to want to slide around. So I'm pulling out a trick that I learned from Eric Schaefer during the process of building my acoustic guitar. I'm going to use some double-sided tape and attach it to the back of some little blocks of wood. That way I can attach the blocks of wood to the base as well as the piece that holds the card reader. That's going to hold everything in place and allow me to apply some clamping pressure while I glue this up. Pretty handy little tip that I keep finding more uses for. With all of the blocks stuck in place, I can apply the glue and just assemble this thing as it's going to be. The blocks keep everything from sliding around. For the initial clamping pressure, I'm just going to use some rubber bands to kind of hold everything in place. Then I'll carefully use some regular clamps and add some more pressure. Now this was a little bit tricky because the piece is angled, but I was able to make it work. Once I got the clamps in place, a quick inspection revealed that everything looked aligned. We'll just let that dry for a little bit. Once the glue's dry, we're ready to apply some finish. I did run a couple of screws down in here just as a little reinforcement on the glue joint. It probably would hold up, but a couple screws aren't going to hurt. You're never going to see them anyway. For the finish, I'm going to keep it super simple and quick because I need to get this done, move on to other things. We're just going to use some Osmo oil. This is a hard wax finishing oil. Looks really cool, super easy to apply. Let's see how it looks on this black walnut. Ooh, black walnutty goodness. I need to set this somewhere so that it can dry. I need some sticks. There we go. All that's left to do is attach our nameplate using some screws and some decorative washers. I'll just finish snugging these down by hand. That way I don't risk snapping off the screws by using the impact driver. That'd be a drag at this point. Let's see how the card reader fits. Keep in mind I am still going to have Velcro underneath there, but for now, we're just testing it out. It fits great. And this looks super cool. This is going to be a great addition to my booth at the upcoming guitar show. Welcome to Haley Guitars. Oh, you'd like to buy a guitar? Please swipe your card. It's going to be awesome. Now, maybe you don't need to build a holder for a wireless card reader for your upcoming guitar show, and that's totally fine. I hope that something in this process maybe inspires you to take some aspect of this and use it in your project. Thanks a lot for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one. We'll see you next time.